Hey, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com and welcome back to another EVG Uncensored. As you can see, I'm in a different location. I'm actually cat sitting right now and I'm really enjoying this poster behind me, or painting, I should say. It's so beautiful and I feel like it's sitting on my shoulder. This video is sharing an experience that I had today that is really a big theme for a lot of my thought process, and I'm really confident that you are going to relate to this, so I can't wait to hear your comments. As always, please watch the video to the end before you comment if you want to take some notes. I know a lot of people tend to comment out of excitement, but I love it when you wait to the end and really just give your thoughts some thought. That's actually a big theme in this video, just the idea that people are very quick to react, and that's something that I'm making big strides to not do in my life, because I want to give everything lots of thought whenever I can before I act, before I say something, before I do something. And I'm really becoming a big advocate for that, especially on social media, because I feel like so many people just have these knee-jerk reactions or react without getting all the information, and it can cause a lot of unnecessary drama and pain and arguments and all of that could easily be avoided if we really took the time to think. I think social media, and that comes around to what I'm going to talk about today, social media in general has allowed for that in a lot of ways. It allows us to speak our minds, but that's not always a good thing, and I have to say, the majority of the time, it feels like people are just vomiting out their thoughts, their feelings, without realizing how it affects other people, because there's no one-on-one interaction. We're behind our computers, we're behind our mobile devices, we can just say whatever, put it down and leave, or have these conversations back and forth with people without actually having to feel their energy. And to me, as passionate as I am about social media, this is doing us collectively a really big disservice, and I'm really curious to see where things are going to go. Is it going to get worse, or is it going to get better? Are we going to find a way around this, or are we moving towards a society that's very numb emotionally? And that's something that I want to keep fighting for as long as I am able to. Today's experience happened on Facebook, probably my favorite social media network. If you are a part of the Eco Vegan Gal community on Facebook, I'm very active there. I usually post about 3 times a day. I love joining in conversations. And I actually don't use my personal Facebook very often. I'll go on there maybe once a day at most. I'll read through any new notifications. I'll see what some other people are doing in my news feed. Maybe I'll go check in on somebody or send somebody a message. But I don't find myself using Facebook for that reason very frequently. I realized recently that it doesn't give me a lot of pleasure. It feels a lot like a waste of time, because it's kind of like looking curiously into other people's lives. I do think it's nice to be able to check in with people, but it's also weird that we've moved to this place where we check in with people by reading what they're posting about, not having a conversation. I think sometimes that can save time. To me, that's the appeal, is, oh, I don't have to call and have this long conversation or meet with somebody. I can just quickly see what's going on with them. Which also sounds a little weird, doesn't it? From someone like me who's has trouble focusing in and managing my time, it's nice for that reason. And be able to shoot someone a quick message or post something or let them know that you're thinking about them. I feel like maybe that was one of the main draws to Facebook, aside from that voyeuristic perspective of, ooh, we get to find out what other people are doing and saying without actually letting them know that we're doing it. And that's that normal human curiosity. It's kind of like reading a gossip magazine or newspaper or something like that. And it makes complete sense. For Eco Vegan Gal, I really use Facebook to create a community where we can have discussions and we can share information and get points across and spread positivity. However, maybe I should lead this next topic I'm about to say to another video, but I've generally been feeling really frustrated with negativity on social media, as I mentioned. And on Facebook, I'm really struggling to figure out how to properly manage it on the Eco Vegan Gal page, because I find that tension can really build up. But I think I'll leave that for another time. I really want to focus in on the specific experience I had today. I went on to my personal Facebook page this morning and I saw a message from my uncle. My uncle has been a pretty big part of my life, this specific uncle, I should say. I have numerous uncles. And he and I have had this really strong bond since I was a little girl. He's always had a really touching place in my heart. He's a big jokester and he is so loving towards me and supportive of me, and I've always deeply appreciated it. Recently, though, I think it's recent. I've been vegan for almost 11 years now, and I don't know what it is exactly, but recently he started to tease me about that. Maybe I'm blocking it out, but I don't remember him teasing me before. I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe I am just blocking it out. Despite all of his support and love, he still really enjoys teasing me, and I have been trying to wrap my head around why that is exactly. Is it something that he feels like there's a topic, some sort of conversation? Is he using it to communicate with me? So let me tell you exactly what happened. He actually recorded a video on his mobile device and posted it on Facebook. And I didn't watch the entire thing yet because it started to activate me. But it was him at a fast food restaurant. I think he was at like Wendy's or something. And it was basically like, "This burger's for you, Whitney. I'm eating tasty meat." And yeah, I guess I'm assuming that that's what the whole video was, but it started to activate me, so I decided not to watch the whole thing. And I had to really step back and examine my feelings, what was going on there for both of us. Now, of course, I don't know exactly what motivated him to do this, but I really have been enjoying today thinking it over. So, as I mentioned, I wonder if he was trying to communicate with me. Sometimes that's just what people do when they tease you. They always say little boys tease little girls because they like them, right? I know that my uncle is not really trying to harm me. He knows that I have a great sense of humor and that I'm very confident and that we're probably not going to cry if he makes fun of me in this way. So I think that he's probably just teasing me because it's his way of showing love, which sounds weird, right? But then another thought occurred to me. I was trying to put myself in his shoes because he hasn't ever recorded a video like this, I don't think. Sometimes he'll post things like, "Bacon, this is so good." And again, he seems to mean it innocently, although I've never really asked him, and I would feel comfortable asking him, so I think I might after all of this thought that I've been going through. But the other thing that occurred to me that I would love your perspective on too with your own personal experiences is putting myself in his shoes. I thought about him going to Wendy's. Now, why do people go to Wendy's or any fast food chain? They go there because it's familiar, because it's inexpensive, because it tastes really good. I used to go to Wendy's before I was vegan. I loved their Frosties when I was vegetarian even. Gosh, if only those were healthy. And I actually just found a healthy Frosty recipe that maybe I'll link below if you want. But anyways, that's diverting. I remember going to Wendy's. I remember they had these chicken sandwiches that I was like really obsessed with for a while. I remember going to McDonald's and all these other places. And when I think about Wendy's, I remember that one sandwich I was really into. And the excitement I would get about going there and the taste. If I really think hard about it, I can remember what the bread was like and the flavor of it. It was salty and it was super flavorful and it was only like $2. And so it was just this win-win situation. My taste buds felt good. I would feel full. I would not have to spend a lot of money. And I knew that it was going to be a pleasurable experience. So I understand why people go to places like Wendy's. I understand when my uncle goes there. And we've had conversations about meals. He lives in Memphis, and I was there last year, and I saw that there aren't a lot of options like I have in Los Angeles, as is the case with many parts of the country or the world. I think there was like a handful of vegan options in the city. There was an entirely vegan restaurant, which was phenomenal, and we went there together, and he loved the food. But for him, going to that vegan restaurant is making the decision to just enter into a vegan place, going to spend more money, going to experience new food, and there's also some ego attached to it. For him, that's one thing that I'm starting to sense here, or I'm assuming these things about him, but it's interesting exploring this thought process. For him, he has to go to a vegan restaurant or to order vegan is in a way letting go of ego. It is saying, I'm choosing this over meat. And some people may feel that if they choose vegan, they're basically admitting that their other choices are bad. They're bad for their health, their environment, they're hurting animals. It's an uncomfortable thing for some people. It's also unfamiliar. Whereas you may have been eating at fast food restaurants like Wendy's all the time, going to a vegan place, especially on your own when you don't have your vegan niece, that's what I am to him. When you don't have your vegan niece to go along with you and make it seem fun and easy and help you order, it's probably really daunting. I don't think he knows any other vegans. In fact, I'm fairly confident I'm the only vegan he knows. So coming back to that meal that he had, he's sitting there enjoying this meal and saying, this is really good. I don't understand why Whitney is so against eating this. It tastes so delicious. It's inexpensive. I'm enjoying this. But then I wonder why I crossed his mind at that moment. What was going on for him? And the first thing I thought of when I went down that path was, maybe there's a little part of him that felt guilty. And the second that guilt came in, it reminded him of me. And in order to get rid of that guilt, he decided to make fun of me. Now that is where I really feel confident that that's what happened today. And again, I'm making assumptions, but these are some things, I'm using this really as an example for anyone out there that has people teasing them. I think that this is an interesting thing. Don't you think that when people are making fun of you, or have you actually, let's put ourselves in those shoes of making fun of something or someone. Oftentimes we make fun of something that we don't understand. It's foreign to us. I mean, this is human psychology 101, and we have done this in so many extreme ways. When something's different from us, we automatically, well, not all of us, but it's very common for humans to have this automatic reaction of rejecting something that's unfamiliar or unlike us. So we've done this with different color skins and races. We've done this with different religions. We do this with different types of sexuality. We are often afraid of something that's unfamiliar because we don't understand it. We don't know it. And it's that same sort of reaction when it comes to vegans versus meat eaters. Now, I feel like vegans have a different perspective, though, because most vegetarians and vegans have eaten meat or animal products at some point. I've met very few vegans or vegetarians that have never had animal products. And like I said, I can remember what that whole process was like, so I already know it. Therefore, I don't really feel compelled to tease meat eaters. I feel compelled sometimes to get a little bit angry and heated, as many vegans and vegetarians do, but I wouldn't say that I feel like teasing them unless they tease me first. Now, most meat eaters probably haven't experienced the full aspect of veganism and vegetarianism. Well, that might be an overstatement, though, because if you check out my most recent video on Eco Vegan Gal, I had this great talk with Sayward, who has done a full study about ex-vegans, and she actually found that 75% of people that go vegetarian revert back to meat eating. So maybe we should dispel my whole idea. But coming back to my uncle's perspective here, I know for a fact he's never gone vegan, and I really doubt that he's been vegetarian. So for him, it's foreign to him. He lives in a part of the country where it's very common to eat meat, to go to fast food places. And like I said, he doesn't really know any other vegans. So for him, it's kind of like, oh, let me tease that. It's unfamiliar. But I also feel like teasing comes out of fear and oftentimes guilt. And that's where I feel like he felt compelled. It was a defense mechanism, is what I believe. It's, ugh, this tastes really good, but I know it's not really good in a lot of ways, and that reminds me of Whitney, so let me make sure that she knows that I'm really confident about my decision to eat vegan, and to eat meat, and I'm just gonna let her know that this tastes really good, and so all of her reasons for going vegan don't matter to me because I love to eat this food. I mean, that is a very common process. If you look online, as I did today, it's very common for meat eaters to react that way. They love to say, meat is murdy. Meat is murdy. Meat is murder. Tasty, delicious murder. They like to take our taglines and like add this extra thing. Oh, vegans don't eat bacon? Great, there's more for me. You know, that whole concept, anytime you post a picture of a pig or talk about how bad bacon is, there's usually vegan or non-vegans that come on and say, oh, but bacon is so delicious. And it's interesting that they feel so compelled to do that, even when they're not even part of the conversation. The conversation can be directly about and for vegans, and yet meat eaters feel compelled to come in. Now, we as vegans do that a lot too, and that's something I want to explore more, but maybe not in this video, is we get defensive as well. And that's where this all comes to a tie-in. When I saw that video from my uncle, I kind of stepped back from it and I wasn't sure how to respond. I think I was going to respond at very first the way I usually have, which was to laugh it off. But then I realized that I didn't really want to laugh it off because it's actually not that funny. There's often this desire to make it seem like it's no big deal, like, oh, I can handle it, you can eat meat in front of me, you can tease me, like, I'm confident, go ahead. And you know, there is something to be said for letting people know that you are lighthearted and you're easygoing. But at the same time, there comes a certain point where you draw a line, and that's where I started to feel today. I thought, my uncle has been teasing me for long enough about this, and I don't really understand what his point is because I haven't asked him. But it's kind of rude of him to post that publicly on Facebook. That's another thing I have an issue with. I don't like how people use social media to publicly judge and tease, bully, make fun of other people. It happens way too much, and I'm really drawing a line in the sand. It's just not necessary, and it's never my intent to do that. So maybe it's that I just don't, maybe it's that I wanted to stick up for myself or let him know. I could actually send him a private message, which is what I might end up doing, just saying, hey, I saw your video. I appreciate that you were thinking of me. I just don't really appreciate the videos. They're not that funny to me, and I'd love to just talk about something else. I feel like that would be the most mature, less ego-based reaction. Speaking of egos, I feel like a lot of us allow our egos to take over. So if I had allowed my ego to take over, I could have fired back on other things, and it wouldn't really have achieved anything. I don't expect my uncle to go vegan, and I'm not trying to force him to go vegan. I don't want to litter him with information about why veganism is better than meat eating. I don't want to make it that right versus wrong, should versus shouldn't type of a thing, and I don't think that he was trying to do that either. I think that, I actually don't know. I want to move away from trying to understand why he did what he did and move towards how to better react. So what I found myself doing through this thought process is I went on to Google and to Pinterest, and I started looking for images that could get my point across, to summarize my feelings. Instead of just using my words, I was thinking, what if I could find a great image to represent the opposite of what he's saying, or the other side. Whereas he's saying how tasty it is, I kind of wanted to fire back with like an image of like a cow being slaughtered and say like, this is your burger, or like obese people or something like that. And I found myself looking through image after image. I spent a long time doing this. I got kind of obsessed, and I collected over 40 images, which I'm now wondering what to do with, because a lot of them are really, really great. And I'm thinking of making like a little video montage of them, because even though they're still on the defensive side, like, you know, vegan is better than eating meat, they do have a lot of really great points to them. But my hesitation to send this to my uncle is that I don't feel like he or a lot of people respond to that should versus shouldn't, right versus wrong. Really, they have to make the decision for themselves. I want to find this quote that really resonated with me recently. It might take me a minute to find it. And I don't know if I've ever read it in one of these videos before. Let's see. It was such a... Oh, here we go. Perfect. That was fast. You can't convince people of anything. You can only hope you provide enough information so that they convince themselves. Data doesn't change minds. First, focus on getting people to feel the way you feel first. Then you can show them the data to back it up. Get into the hearts of them. Figure out why they believe what they believe and why they disbelieve what they disbelieve. That came from a business email I got, Derek Halpern, and I love him for business stuff, and this really resonated with me on a vegan level. However, again, coming back to my uncle and any people that are similar to him, I've been providing information for years, 11 years now. I'm doing that personally and doing that on my website and my Facebook posts. And it's not that, providing all that information still hasn't convinced him. He hasn't convinced himself of it. That data hasn't changed his mind. If I really was intent on changing him, it would be important to focus on showing him how I feel and encouraging him to feel the same way. But it's a big struggle, and I almost don't know if it's worth it. Sure, I would love if my uncle didn't eat meat. He would save lots of animals. It would save the environment. It could potentially save his health. But I also know firsthand from my parents and many other people that I've met that they really just, it's up to them. It's their choice. You can call it selfish. You can talk all about how cruel it is and how bad it is for the environment and our health. But we're individuals. We live in a free country, and people want to make their own decisions about things. And there is so much deeply embedded psychologically and physically within these desires to eat meat. Some people just don't have the desire or the willpower or whatever else it takes to make those decisions. Even though he is blood related to me, we're still very different people. We live in completely different parts of the country. And it's just really up to him. So I found myself backing off, and now I'm wondering if I'm going to say anything at all to him. I'm curious if I don't say anything at all, if he'll write me to apologize or wonder why or something like that. I think that's what I'm going to do, because I've also found over the years that it's better to not respond at all in a lot of cases, because that shows that it kind of takes away the power of it. If they're trying to get a rise out of you and you don't respond at all, they didn't get what they wanted. And that might even be more effective with someone like him in this situation, whereas he didn't get that dig. You know, think about it. If we were actually in person and he had said that to me and I just sat there and looked at him blankly, he'd probably feel really uncomfortable. Right? I mean, just humans psychologically, it feels like rejection when people don't respond to us at all. Sometimes rejection is even more powerful when somebody doesn't acknowledge us versus when they do acknowledge us. So I think that that's where I'm going to go with this. It's interesting. This is part of the vegan side of things that is really fascinating to me, and I just love, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I got a minor in psychology, and I was really interested in psychology since high school. And it comes back around now where I always find myself wondering what's the best way to communicate with people, and how do we get people to change their minds and evolve, and why do people do what they do? I'm so fascinated by that. And I'm also equally fascinated by encouraging other people to really step back and examine why they do what they do. And this applies to everyone. This especially applies to you watching, because it starts with you. It starts with the people that are focused on being the best that they can be, and focused on evolving themselves, because not everybody is interested in evolving. Not everyone is interested in becoming a better person, quote unquote. What is it to be a better person anyways? It's so relative. It starts with you, because if you really learn how to control yourself and your emotions and your reactions, you can make such a massive impact. As I mentioned, it's not always what we say, it's sometimes about what we don't say. And this is also going to depend on the situation. There's also that psychological aspect of sometimes not saying anything can be worse for a situation than better. So you really have to learn and start to practice this. And it's not a one-size-fits-all type of a position. I think that what it comes down to is really thinking about why you're going to react the way that you react before you do so, and giving yourself time. Sleep on it, or take a few hours, or rehearse in your head the different outcomes, and focus on why you're doing it and how you're going to feel, not about how you're going to make the other person feel. I think that is probably one of the biggest issues that we have collectively, is that a lot of people are focused on what the other person's going to think. I'm going to say this so that the other person does this. But just like those quotes I read, we don't control how other people feel or think. All of us are having our own private, unique experiences in our head based on so many different factors. So that's another reason why we shouldn't censor ourselves. And that's also another reason why we shouldn't do something in order to make somebody else feel that way. Well, maybe if I say this will make you change your mind. This will make you go vegan once you see those images. If that were the case, I was going through all these images today that I could have used to respond to him. And in my head, I'm rehearsing his reaction. And I have a feeling that he's always going to come back to the fact that he likes the way meat tastes. I can't convince him that plants taste just as good as meat. He has to experience that himself. He has to want to experience that. I can't convince him that it's going to ruin his health. I struggle with this with my parents. They don't eat meat, but they still eat fish and some processed food, and every once in a while dairy. And I get so frustrated with that, but I have to just realize that if they're going to get sick and die earlier, as sad as that is for me and as morbid as that is, that's still their choice. They supported me in making my choice, so I need to support them in making their own. It's not about right versus wrong. We do not live in a black and white world. Otherwise, people would do one thing, and that's it. We all have so many things going on and so many different variables that contribute to how we act and the decisions we make. So for me, I have to just take it person by person, moment by moment, but always remember that my reactions are more about me than they are about them. And I would rather focus my efforts on helping people that want to go vegan versus trying to help people that don't want to go vegan. That's a much harder battle. But if people come to me and ask me for information, it's so much easier, and we can evolve from there. And I can also have the faith and the positive attitude that we will get there, and that some of those people in that first I don't want to be vegan category may change their minds. My uncle may change his mind at some point, but that's not up to me to change it. It's not up to me to respond with anger. And this was such a beautiful lesson, because instead of feeling defensive, instead of feeling hurt, I took the time to really step back, examine myself, and realize I don't really care. It's like, okay, I can laugh it off privately. I choose not to laugh it off in front of him because I don't want to encourage it. But really, it's like, it doesn't affect me in the way he wanted it to, I think. And so that to me is where the power lies. The power lies within me and my decisions. And the fact that I'm recording this video right now, that you are who I really want to speak to. You are who I really want to share this information with. I feel like you watching right now are going to make this is going to be a much bigger impact with you than it is if I were to have this conversation with him. I'm very curious for your thoughts. Thank you for watching this 30-minute video. I am really passionate about this and helping move people towards a more positive outlook and less judgmental actions. If we can be as kind to each other as we intend to be towards the planet and the animals, I think that we can make a much bigger impact than we are right now. Thank you so much for watching. You know, as usual, you can find more information at ecovegangal.com, and on the main Eco Vegan Gal channel, I'm really thrilled with how the weekly Q&As every Saturday are going. So please tune in. You can watch them on YouTube, you can download them on SoundCloud, and you can participate by watching them live on Google Plus every Saturday, where I really aim to explore topics like this. Thank you for giving me the space. I can't wait to read your comments, and remember that respond to other people. That's great. Just make sure that you do it in a very kind, respectful manner. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. Otherwise, I'm just going to delete it anyways. And for more communication with me, you can find me on all the main social media networks. The links are down below in the YouTube description field. I love, love, love hearing from you. So please send me messages whenever you feel compelled to. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.